Hey everybody, welcome back to more The Legend of Zelda, A Link to the Past. In the last episode, we got here to the eastern part of Hyrule, where the Elder is said to be located. And in this episode, we're going to go and talk to him to see what we can do about the Wizard Aghanim, and try and see if there's any way a little child like this can wield such a legendary blade as the Master Sword. I am indeed Sahashala, the village elder and descendant of the Seven Wise Men. Oh really? Link, I am surprised a young man like you is searching for the Sword of Evil's Bane. Not just anyone can use that weapon. Legends say the only hero who has won the treasure of pendants who has won the three pendants, I don't know where I got treasure, can wield the sword. Do you really want to find it? Well, it's not like you're giving me much of a choice. Yeah! Good! As a test, can you retrieve the pendant of courage from the East Palace? If you bring it here, I will tell you more of the legend and give you a magical artifact. Now, go forward to the palace. Alright, and you see here that there's a bombable wall, but we don't really need to do anything with that yet because there's no secrets behind there, so let's go ahead and just ignore it for now and go to the palace. We are gonna go to our first dungeon. Yeah, we don't get a tunic upgrade or a sword upgrade or anything like that like we do in the first game before the first dungeon. All we get is a piece of heart that we go out of our way for, and that is it. And we got these armor statues that are gonna start attacking you once you get next to them. So if they do, be careful with them because even though they're not strong, they have a lot of health. So you want to be careful with them. And here we go to the first dungeon. I can't answer backwards, come on. Alright, so Dungeon 1, the Eastern Palace. This palace is going to be pretty straightforward. Only 2 floors in this dungeon, and there's going to be 2 keys for locked doors. The dungeon items are going to be the standard 3, big key, compass, and map. However, starting in this dungeon and every other dungeon in the game, there's going to be a dungeon-specific item, in this case being the bow and arrow. The bow and arrow is going to help us with defeating certain enemies later down the line and the boss in this dungeon. Every dungeon is going to be like that. This dungeon, there isn't really much to talk about. It's pretty straightforward, like I said, so just go ahead and you really just need to get the big key, then get the bow and arrow, and you fight the boss. Alright, now here we go to the first dungeon. This dungeon is the East Palace. There's not going to be too many difficulties here to face in this dungeon, so the bio will tell you everything. I'm going to do a bio of every dungeon that I enter. And I'm sorry if I repeat myself in the video and in the bios because the way I'm going to be doing this is I'm going to record the bios while I'm editing, and I'm obviously doing live commentary while I'm doing the dungeon, so I might repeat myself in some areas. I'll try not to, but sorry if it happens. Anyways, first you want to go up here and get this chest that has 100 rupees in it, yeah. It's very useful, especially this early in the game. There is a required item that is going to cost you 500 rupees later down the line, so you do want to collect as many rupees as you can for right now. And I'm sorry, I love this game and everything, but I'm really not a fan of this dungeon theme. I don't know why, but I really like the original's mystique and atmospheric music on the NES for dungeons. And it was on the NES, for crying out loud. This is just kind of ambient, but it doesn't really go anywhere. It just da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. I mean, it sets the tone, and that's all I can really ask for a song for a silly video game about a green man trying to get a sword to slash it through a wizard, but honestly, I wish there was a different tune to this. I wish it was an actual melody rather than just ambience. I know they could do a lot more with that now that we're on the Super Nintendo as opposed to the NES, but I like the way the NES did it because they had to come up with actual melodies rather than just ambience in it. This song would sound more at home in like a Metroid game or something. Anyways, these blocks with the Triforce on them is gonna give you a hint. Link, it is I, Sahashala. I can talk to you telepathically when you touch these tiles. Here's a hint, you can use the treasure hidden in this palace to defeat armored foes. That's going to come into handy later on, so we want to keep that in mind, even though it's not really a difficult thing to figure out on your own. That's another thing about this game that I really love. I can easily recommend this. If you're barely starting to get into Zelda, easily I can recommend this or Ocarina of Time to be your first games. This game, because the first games are too... Well, the first game is too obtuse and too cryptic to recommend to a first-timer. And the second game is not a Zelda game, necessarily, because it's a top-down side-scroller that is way too difficult to recommend to a first-timer. And, I mean, I did give Ocarina of Time as an example, but that game is pretty long, and if you're not really familiar with Zelda, I'm going to stop talking about this to talk about a mechanic that's really important for you to know. These enemies are called anti-fairies, and you're going to know why they're called that here in a second. I'm trying to run away from them because I want to explain. If you get hit by them, you'll not only lose hearts, but you will also lose your magic meter. But if you hit them with the magic powder we got from the witches, they turn into fairies. Now, in the first game, fairies only healed you for like 6 hearts whenever you caught them after a random drop. But in this game, you can keep it in a bottle. And this is one of the most overpowered things that they introduced in Zelda. If you keep a fairy in a bottle and you end up dying at any point, you will be instantly resurrected as long as you have a fairy in a bottle. With like 7 or 8 hearts, I believe. But yeah, revival if you have a fairy in a bottle, so definitely want to have that. And that is why bottles are some of the most important items in the entire series. Specifically, the reason because that you can hold fairies in the bottles is what makes them so important, and why you want to get all of them, even if you're not going for 100%, because it just makes the games way easier, especially if you're just not good at top-down Zelda. I don't think I'm terrible at top-down Zelda or anything, but even with all the experience I have with this game, I still want to keep one on me from time to time. I mean, on my first recording of this Let's Play, I actually died in this dungeon, which is very embarrassing, but yeah. I guess not as embarrassing as me dying at the very beginning of this Let's Play, but that wasn't on recording, and that's because I was trying to do stuff on the computer while the game was still playing and I didn't pause it, so I guess that was my fault, really. Anyways, we got the big key from that chest, and now we can open these doors. And I was trying to get another fairy there, but unfortunately I ran out of magic because I got hit a bunch of times there. But yeah, I was saying, Ocarina of Time, it is a really good game, and I can see why people recommend it as like one of the best Zelda games ever, but this game is so much more replayable than Ocarina of Time, in my opinion anyway, that it's just easier for me to recommend to someone who's wanting to get into the series, and I don't really want them to have a difficult time with a game that's either too hard or too long. And I'm not saying that Ocarina of Time is too long, but I am saying for the average player that wants to get into the series and they're not even sure if they're going to like it, I don't want them to waste too much time on something they're probably not, that they're either going to like or not going to like. And I'd rather have them play this game since it's way shorter. But yeah, definitely if you want to get into the series, I recommend this highly as a good starting point. Alright, now you see these green Armos, I think that's what they're called. Pretty sure that these are Armos. I don't know, there's so many like statue type enemies that are called Armos in every game, and I keep thinking that one's one, the other's the other, but I'll flash up their name on screen right now if I keep getting it wrong. Shoot, oh god, they do a lot of damage, I forgot about that. Alright. Now, you saw how many sword swings it took to destroy those guys, but watch what happens later on when I actually use the item that we got, which was the bow and arrow. I didn't even explain it, wow. Bow and arrow! As you can guess, it's a long-range weapon. You could shoot arrows in 4 directions. Not in 8, unfortunately, but 4 is good enough. However, unlike in the first game where you had to use rupees as your ammo, in this game, you have an actual dedicated arrow count. So now you can freely use your bow and arrow as long as you have arrows in your inventory and you don't have to waste rupees. That is one thing that really deterred me from using the bow and arrow in the first game, is that the fact that it used up rupees. So I'm glad that we have an actual arrow inventory now. And I really wish I had magic powder on me, but I do not. Also, a new mechanic in this game that I forgot to explain is that there's now switches on the floor. They'll open doors. There'll be some switches where if you step on it, it'll open a door, but it'll close as soon as you get out, meaning you have to weigh it down with something. Stuff like that. There's a lot more puzzle elements in this Zelda game rather than the first game, so if you thought the first game was too much of a chore to play, these dungeons will give you a lot more, which is a good thing. Now there's these hidden switches in this room. You want to hit the one at the top left. And then we got these Staphos here. You want to use the spin attack on them because if you just try to slash them with your sword normally, they'll just jump out of the way. Now these red Armos can only ever be hurt by the bow and arrow. If you try to slash your sword, they won't take any damage. Alright. And you want to wake those up. They're only going to open their eyes once you're close to them. So you want to get close to them and then back up and then start shooting them again. And here we have the first boss, the Armos King. 6 of them to be exact. And they're very, very easy. They're going to take either, I think, 8 slashes from your spin attack with your sword, or 3 arrows to the face. So yeah, they're weak to the bow and arrow. They're gonna go ahead and do this circle formation and just bounce around you, kind of like a ritual, I guess. I don't know. They're maybe trying to practice for the Hyrule Solstice or something. And then they're gonna form up on the northern wall and start charging you from the top to the bottom. What I'd recommend doing is actually saving your arrows for right now. You can use some on some of the Armos just to get them out of the way. But for right now, they're not really too dangerous. So I'd say just use your sword for now. And then just shoot your arrows when they need to be shot, I guess. Surprised none of them has died yet. Shoot, yeah. They'll take half a heart. They'll take a half a heart whenever they hit you, so it's not too bad. They're not really that strong. Okay, there we go. 1 going down, then 2 go down. You didn't go down, though. Yeah, and they take a lot of knockback as well, so they're not too terribly difficult. Okay, 1 went down there. This boss theme is very repetitive, but I really like it. I don't know why. It's just very energetic. Now, once you get down to 1, it'll start chasing you around the arena like a thwomp. What you want to do is run around, and once it pounds the ground, you want to shoot your arrows at it. This is what you want to save your arrows for, because this takes a lot more than 3, actually. I don't know why, but it increases defense when it's turning red like that, which usually means it increases attack, not defense. It's like in Super Mario RPG, whenever Boomer turns red because he's more defensive and blue when he's more offensive, which is just backwards. But anyways, not about Super Mario RPG. Once we defeat a boss, we get a heart container that's actually mandatory. There's no way to do a 3-heart run in this game because you can't get the item to clear the dungeon until you get the heart container. So yeah, pretty interesting. You won the Pendant of Courage. Take it to Sahasrahla. 2 pendants remain. Alright. Now that we got the first pendant, the Pendant of Courage, we're going to continue on here. And Pendant of Courage. I wonder if the other 2 pendants are going to be Pendant of Power and Pendant of Wisdom. I wonder what that relates to. Anyways. Oh, you got the Pendant of Courage. Now we'll tell you more of the legend. 3 or 4 generations ago, give or take. An order of knights protected the royalty of Hylia. These knights of Hyrule were also guardians of the Pendant of Courage. Unfortunately, most of them were destroyed in the great war against evil that took place when the seven wise men created their seal. Among the descendants of the knights of Hyrule, a hero must appear. I see. Link, I believe you should get the remaining pendants and carry this with you. This is a treasure passed down by the family of the wise men. I want you to have it. You get the Pegasus shoes. Now we can do a dash attack. Helpful item is hidden in the cave in the cave on the east side of Lake Hylia. Jeez. Now we'll get into that when we get into that. It's going to be later on, but we get the Pegasus boots, which is very, very, very helpful. Oh my god, it's such a good item to have because now, not only is it a dash attack, but we can actually just move faster in the overworld with this thing. So yeah, we don't need to be conformative with this slow walking speed. We can now just dash everywhere where we need to go, which is a godsend. I tell you, every time I restart a new file of Link to the Past, I cannot wait to beat the first dungeon because I really, really want to get the Pegasus boots as soon as possible. They're just that much of an upgrade. Anyways, let's see. There are quite a couple things we can do right now, so we're gonna go ahead and let's see. We're gonna go ahead and back to the location of Kakariko Village because there is something that we have to go do there right now that we have the Pegasus boots, and this is required, so we do want to go there. Go the lower area because we need to explore more of the world anyway. And let's take a detour and just check out this area right here. Ooh, what is that? Maybe we'll find out later. But for now, let's continue on. Alright, now you want to go to this area right here with the book on there. And welcome to the Kakariko Library. And what do you do when you can't reach a book off a high shelf? You ram into it! You found the Book of Midori. You can use it to read the ancient language of the Hylia. You want to come here and detour because you do need that item to continue on. And there's a bee right here. Bees you can capture in your bottle, and they will attack anything that's near them, whether that be you or an enemy. So they can be kind of helpful, I guess. But they're not really too necessary. But there is something to do with bees that I'm going to show off later that's going to be very interesting. So we'll get to that when we get to that. But for right now, we're just going to continue on here. Oh, shoot. Go away. Alright. And if we go down here... to this little building, if we don't jump in the water there... pushing these blocks. Blocks can only be pushed once in one direction. They can never be moved again until you reset the room. But we get bombs from that chest right there. But that's all fine and good. However, instead if we push this and block off the chest instead, want to pull the lever that's closest to the water moat. And now that you're here, I guess let's do that. No, I meant to catch it. Damn it. Okay, whatever. we get another piece of heart for draining the water. And that is our first. Alright, and if we look at our map, we see the other areas marked, and we also see the location of the Master Sword over there in the top left corner. And we can also see that this is one of the locations that we must go, the desert. And yeah, the second dungeon is going to be here. However, I'm going to wait till the next episode to tackle it. So next time on The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past, we're going to continue on to the desert. See you guys next time.